The woman in the elevator. After drinking, I returned home late at night. I live in an apartment building about a 10-minute drive from the nearest station, assuming the roads aren't too crowded. Usually, I take the bus to and from the station, but that night it was past 1 a.m., close to 2 a.m., well past the time when the last late-night bus had already left. So I took a taxi home that night. The apartment building has an auto-lock system, and after inputting the security code, I walked a few steps to the elevator hall. The building is 12 stories above ground with one basement level, a parking lot, and I live in room 11 on the 7th floor. The elevator was on B1, so I had to wait several seconds for it to come to the first floor. It was late at night, and naturally, the surroundings were completely silent, with no sign of anyone around. It was taking a long time. The elevator wasn't coming. It remained stuck on the basement level and wouldn't come up. Was someone waiting down there? I was getting irrationally irritated, but I couldn't imagine climbing the stairs up to the 7th floor. All I could do was look up at the light showing where the elevator was, getting more and more annoyed. I didn't time it exactly, but I must have waited nearly 5 minutes. Frustrated, I decided to go down to the basement myself, ready to complain to whoever was keeping the elevator down there. Clack, clack, clack. My own footsteps echoed unnervingly loudly. After descending the stairs, I came out into the open space where several cars were parked. I headed straight to the elevator room. No one was there. Despite making me wait so long, no one was there. Well, fine. Maybe it was because I was a little tipsy, but my emotions felt simple and fleeting. I was almost relieved, as if I had avoided some unnecessary trouble. I stepped into the elevator. As the doors opened, I saw there was already a woman inside the elevator. When I entered, I instinctively said, "Good evening." Out of habit, she ignored me, silently looking down. My anger flared up again. I have a weird issue with people ignoring greetings. It makes me feel like my pride is being unnecessarily wounded, and it makes me irrationally mad, even when I'm sober. She didn't greet me back, and she kept the elevator stuck in the basement. Damn it! How annoying. What floor does she live on? As I thought that, I noticed that only the button for the 7th floor, my floor, was lit up. Is she going to the same floor? Feeling irritated, we quickly arrived at the 7th floor. Since she had been in the elevator before me, I got out first. Normally, residents would say something like, "Good night," as a courtesy. But because of what had happened earlier, I got off without a word. The doors closed with a whoosh behind me. But in the end, she didn't get off on the 7th floor. Thinking it was strange, I shrugged it off and went home. A few days later, my wife came home late at night after a business dinner with one of her clients. She called me from her cell phone. She had taken a taxi back to the apartment, but she only had a little over 1,000 yen on her, so she didn't have enough to pay the fare. She asked me to quickly bring some money down to the first floor. There was no helping it. In my pajamas and slippers, I grabbed my wallet and headed down to meet her and the taxi. The elevator was stopped on the basement level again. I pressed the down button and waited for it to come up. As everyone might imagine, the elevator just wouldn't come. With a bad feeling, I remembered the strange woman I'd encountered the other night and decided to take the stairs again. About halfway down at the 5th floor, I checked to see if the elevator was coming up. It was still stuck on the basement level. I gave up and continued down. Finally, I reached the first floor, thanked the taxi driver, and paid the fare. I don't remember the exact amount, but it was around 1,200 yen. I gave him 2,000 yen as a tip and didn't ask for change. My wife and I went to get into the elevator. Once again, it was stuck on B1. I didn't think the woman was involved this time, but I was getting fed up. "You're so impatient," my wife laughed, "but I just can't stand wasting time waiting." I briefly explained what had happened the other night, and we both decided to go down to the parking lot. Once again, there were no signs of people or movement, but my wife found it amusing. Maybe it's a ghost? It's a new building. That shouldn't be possible, right? We joked back and forth as we got into the elevator. When the doors opened, there was nothing inside. Just the clean beige panels of the newly painted elevator. No one was there. I felt silly for being so spooked. A few months passed after that. Stories about the late-night elevator being stuck in the basement started circulating, as more residents experienced similar things. The building management saw it as a prank and began issuing warnings through notices and signs in the elevator hall. Around that time, more and more residents started using the stairs. Previously, only people on lower floors or kids would use the stairs, but now even residents on the upper floors, including myself, were avoiding the elevator, often passing each other on the stairwell. Probably 90% of the residents stopped using the elevator. And it's no wonder something big had happened after all. The family involved, despite this being a condo, moved out, so I don't know all the details. But according to rumors among the residents, around March of this year, a girl who lived on the 5th floor, Miss A, came home late after a date. Since the elevator wasn't coming, she went down to the basement to use it. There, she found a woman with long hair standing with her back to her. Miss A got off on the 5th floor and returned to her apartment. So far, so good. Later, Miss A realized she had left her phone, likely in her boyfriend's car. She called him from her home phone, asking him to bring it back to her. Since he had just dropped her off, he couldn't have gone far, or so Miss A thought. She went to take the elevator down again, and that's when it happened. That thing was still there. The woman with her back turned was still there in the elevator, just as before. Miss A stepped into the elevator, paying no mind. No one knows what happened inside, but as soon as she reached the 1st floor, she screamed and began thrashing about. Her screams were so loud that I could hear them from my apartment on the 7th floor. When I went down to see what was happening, several residents in their pajamas had already gathered around Miss A, some trying to calm her down. Miss A was a mess. Was it an epileptic fit? I don't know, but she was in bad shape, wetting herself, foaming at the mouth. Her sandals were scattered everywhere, and she was flailing so wildly that her skirt had ridden up. It was a terrifying and chaotic scene, and I tried to hold her down, but she kicked me in the ribs so hard that I lost my breath for a moment. An ambulance arrived soon after, and Miss A was taken away with her parents. The police came, and her boyfriend, who knew nothing of what had happened, was questioned. By the way, Miss A was a cute high school girl who looked like Kyoko Fukada and would always greet me politely when we met. She was hospitalized for a while and was discharged around summer, but last month, during the holiday weekend, her entire family moved out. I saw Miss A with her mother once after that, but I heard she had quit school as well. At one point, there were even rumors of rape, but I'm convinced it was because of the woman in the elevator. Since then, I haven't used the elevator when I'm alone, and neither has my wife.